We'll call this meeting to order if we stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, Mr. Chair.
Morning, Mr. Chair.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming. Approval of the minutes.
I would so move, Mr. Chair. Second.
You got a approval by Commissioner Johnson, seconded by Commissioner Wincher. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Agenda change, any additions or deletions?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Got a motion by
Second.
Commissioner Jelinski, seconded by Commissioner Lemire. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Attorney's report. Welcome, Brian.
Well, thank you for having me. It's
I'm
not
sorry
often-
for the abuse, you know.
It's true, it's not often I get to be on the board agenda, so I'm going to savor the moment. Just have a short update from my office involving Patty Branchard, and she's here today.
And she can come up and sit at
Come
the
on
table.
up, Patty.
That would be
I
awesome.
would hope that you would.
Center seat, put her right in the center.
We were gonna be.
Good morning, Patty.
Morning. Good morning.
Patty's the victim witness coordinator in my office, and she does many things to assist crime victims. One of the things she does is she's an application assistant for the Safe at Home program. That's a program run through the Minnesota Secretary of State office. And last month, Patty received special recognition from Minnesota Secretary of State Steve Simon, and she went to St. Paul for an awards program. And Patty's here to tell you about the Safe at Home program, what she does, and then a little bit about the program in St. Paul.
On June 22nd, I was, the Secretary of State, Steve Simon, held an award for the Safe at Home program. These are for the application assistants who've been in the program for the last 10 years. I was one of 25 people. We had about probably 15 people that actually showed up for the award. The application assistance is designed to help Minnesotans who wish to keep their physical address private. Usually these people are domestic abuse victims or stalking victims. What this address protection does is they are assigned a P.O. box. And they can use it for anything legal address, their driver's license, elections, things like that, to keep their address private from the person. Right now we have about 6,000 people that are enrolled in the state of Minnesota. It's one of the tools that we can use here. Sometimes in a small town, it's a little more difficult because everybody knows everyone. So it is a little bit more challenging in a small town like ours. But it is something that we can offer and assist people with. So this was my award. And just a little, we did have another speaker for, Liz Richards was there. She's the executive director of the Minnesota Coalition for Battered Women. And she did give a speech regarding that, and just pass that on. After the award ceremony, then Secretary of State and his assistant gave us a tour of the newly renovated Capitol. And that was very interesting. Everything has been redone. And so a couple of the questions I asked, because I always ask a lot of questions, was did they find anything interesting while they did the underneath? They didn't, but he did say that in the one area where a lot of the senators and representatives go to eat, it's a ceiling and it's all painted and it has all German writing. He said the last renovation that they did when the war had happened, people didn't like the Germans, and so they had painted that in black. And so now that is all restored, and with the German writing, they actually had a painter come in. So that was very interesting. The other question I asked is, what kind of security measures are you going to use? And I was really surprised to hear none. They said that's the people's house, and the people are welcome, and I was quite surprised at that. I thought they would have more security, but so people can freely walk anywhere in the Capitol. I mean, obviously, there are some restricted areas, and we were able to go into the governor's office, and I stood behind the podium where the governor speaks.
Did you
And
make
I
a
did the
speech?
gavel.
Patty, how
So-
long have you been with Morrison County?
2005.
For a while now.
Yeah,
12 years.
yeah.
In the county attorney's office the entire time, correct?
Yes, yes, yes.
Very valuable asset to the office and the
Absolutely.
organization.
Yeah, and it's a very nice program, and it started in 2007, and we jumped on board right away. And so that's what they were recognizing, is the people that actually began the program, and so.
Mr. Chair, if I may, first of all, Patty, congratulations.
Thank you.
This is a big deal. There's 6,000 folks in Minnesota that are enrolled in this program. I'm not looking to put you on the spot, but in rough numbers, what do we have in Morrison County? 5, 10, 20, 50?
You know,
100?
personally, myself, we've only done 2.
Yeah.
We do work with Hands of Hope.
Yeah.
Right now, Julie is involved in that program also
Okay.
with me. And so she may have done some other ones that I don't know
But
about.
when you say 2, it sounds like insignificant.
It does.
If you will, but
But
there's
it's a
many
tool.
more people that you're dealing with, making them aware and so on and so
Yeah.
forth with this, I'm
Right.
to assume.
Right, and we did assist one person from Todd County because they didn't have a applicant assistant, so
Excellent.
they
Thank
brought her
you.
over here.
Thank you very much for what you're doing.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to, congratulations and
Thank you.
keep up the good work. A great representation of the county.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes, thank you very
well,
much.
thank you.
Thanks for
Thank
coming,
you.
Patty.
And you can come here anytime you want to. Just-
Okay, now it's time to work on the rest of these. Thank you.
Go back to your comfort zone, yes.
That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Next, we'll have local water plan. Helen?
Morning,
Welcome.
Helen.
Good morning.
Good morning, Alan.
We're almost done.
Can you see a little light at the end of that?
Oh
tunnel?
my gosh, this has
Or is
been
that light
such a
getting
long
pretty big now?
process.
Right.
I said, you know, when they award what they do for aquatic invasives and they award what they do for the buffer law and they award what they do for everything else, and yet they give the county 13,000 and something in change for the local water plan, but every 5 years you've got to go through this whole process. But we did receive word from the Board of Water and Soil Resources last week that they've officially approved your plan. So the last step is for you to finally approve it, which also sets the 120-day notice that we're well within that 120-day notice that they had. But now, from here, we're still not done. After I received the signed resolution that you've approved the plan as your final, and I will explain that there was some final tweaking to the preliminary approved plan that went to the state. They required us to do some language, I'm trying to even remember, I amended this thing so many times, I'm trying to remember. There was some minor language about climate changes that they wanted added into a couple of other places. So that's the only modifications we made from the last plan that you saw. Now, from your resolution, then we have to notify all of the municipalities within Morrison County, and they have 90 days to either approve the plan by resolution as their plan or present the county board with a plan of their own. Then you have another time frame. You, meaning probably you're delegating it to me, but I mean, then the county has another 120 days to say, we don't accept your plan. You need to do this, this, or this. But historically, well, once, for many years, that process was actually skipped by Morrison County. We did it with the last plan, and all municipalities came on board by resolution. I expect them to now, because do they really want to go through this on their own?
No.
But, you know, they might have some modifications that they could present to you. So that's the next step. The cities must adopt it by resolution, and they have 90 days to respond to the county, and then you have 120 days to approve or disapprove those city plans. If they accept it by resolution, we're done, and we will work hard to hopefully get that for you. So anyway, this is ready for your final approval. It's online, both with the county. Tonight's Board of Adjustment meeting will still be referencing the old plan, but following tonight, then the new plan will always those language changes and those targeted areas will be referenced in your land use decision-making process.
Mr. Chair, Helen, do you orchestrate that work with the municipalities? Yeah. Thank you.
Well, unless you wanna do it.
Helen, I think you were more than capable. I
If you
trust
want me
you
to,
do
I've
that.
assumed that I would be doing that, but
I'd make a motion to approve the resolution for the comprehensive local water management plan, or more discussion.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Winchard,
I'll second it.
seconded by Commissioner Jelinski. Any further discussion?
Helen, how long have you been working on this?
not quite 2 years.
2 years. Answers the question.
Okay. And if I may, Mr. Chair, why have you been working on this for 2 years? Is this something that we dreamt up, that the townships dreamt up? How did this come to be?
Prior to the board asking the soil and water to take it, you always hired a private consultant, and they took that year and a half as well, and charged you $40,000 to do it. At one time, the plan brought in about $37,000 from the state, and then your levy matched that. So you pretty much spent a year's worth of the water plan money every 5 years just to rewrite it. When it was delegated to us, then that's also about time the funding lapsed. And so it became apparent that there wasn't funding in it. If you were gonna do any functions within it, like the water festival and those things that we put on, Lake and River Day, then it didn't allow for a private consultant. I did, in the beginning stage, use John Sumption. Some of you may remember him as Cass County's Soil and Water Manager and Planning and Zoning Director. He's private consultant now. I did have him this last winter work on it to the tune of about $5,000 just to put it in an order, because I wanted it in a different format. He did that, and then I wound up writing the text myself. But it's just one function of our office, and I have to fit it in with the Wetland Conservation Act and state cost share and the buffer law, and working on shoreline restorations and working with your zoning office on issues. So it's just one thing we do, and there's not time to just sit and devote just to the water plan. So it has about a year and a half
So
into
if
it.
I can follow that up for 1 second, as to where did this actually come from? Is this something that the legislature mandated? Does every county in Minnesota do this?
Yes, Commissioner Jelinski, that's exactly what they do mandate, that every county has a comprehensive local water management plan. The sad thing of it is that they are now putting out all kinds of money to do one watershed, one plan. And I appealed to the Board of Water and Soil Resources, to which they haven't responded, and said, this plan is called One Plan, 5 Watersheds. It is based on 5 major watersheds of Morrison County. Are you asking us to now sit down with 5 more teams and have to do 5 more plans that won't in the end say anything more than what this one does? But those one watershed, one plans positions the county in to receive a lot more money. My appeal to them is, since we watershed addressed it in the local water plan, and you didn't waive that, you still said that had to be updated. Are you gonna say that now that that's met your approval and the county board approval, that it's ineligible for those pots of funding to follow watershed? And I've not received an answer for that. But we have 5 major watershed TMDLs and RAP plans, and I think you all know what those stand for, Water Resource Management Strategy Plans and Total Maximum Daily Loads. We have those on all, well, Mississippi is in the process, but we have those. We're already working on those 5 teams. And 3 of those 5 teams already have funding levels for projects within those watersheds. So what do they hope to gain by, it's more or less saying that all of these other things that they keep layering on, like the buffer and everything else, that we really have nothing else to do but sit in a room and keep writing more plans. I mean, in all honesty, if you took their direction, you would have somebody just doing nothing but aquatic invasive planning, and it's just being a plan writer. But the beauty in doing it myself is that then I know it. and I know what I said that I would do. I know exactly how to reference it. When it was done by Lindbergh, Ekela, or Region 5, not only were they so lengthy, but you didn't understand the plan. You were constantly looking something up and trying to flounder, trying to find where it existed in that plan. They were just too cumbersome. This is a workable size plan, and it truly does drive a lot of the things that you do as land use decision makers, and it drives my workload entirely. We prioritize by those watersheds how and what we're going to strategize to do.
One thing, Mr. Chair, I appreciate about Helen is we never have to guess what you're thinking.
Yeah.
And what you're looking at, so I appreciate that.
Do you really appreciate that?
I do.
It's valuable, we know.
Mr. Chair,
Thank you.
Yes,
those climate change changes, is there any concerns that you had with the additions of those?
No, because they were kind of vague in notion, but you had to reference it as to how that's treating it. For instance, the storm events that we have now are attributed to climate changes. We don't have a half-inch rain every 2 weeks. We now have 3 inches of rain, and we have 5-inch rains, and the erosion and the structural damage that can do to areas really needs to be understood. That what we're seeing now, and according to Minnesota meteorologists, this is the new norm. This is our new normal. We're going to have not necessarily more moisture or rainfall in a given year, but it'll be in bigger events. Whether it's snow, wind, or rain, it'll be bigger events, which is more destructive. You have a lot more erosion problems and structural damage and flooding when you have these big events. So that needs to be recognized, and if it's referenced in the plan, then we can also explain that, you know, due to this 3-inch storm in the Buckman-Bellevue area, we had this amount of damage, and it's referenced in the plan, so therefore we can seek additional funding for that.
Thank you.
that's good. Any other
Okay.
questions?
Other than,
Thank you.
I appreciate Helen, all the work, and I sit on the, as an ex officio on the board, and you do a tremendous job, Helen.
Thank you, Randy. Appreciate that.
Mr. Chair, Helen, you just said one thing about getting funds if there's a disaster. By having this plan in place, assists, if you will, in getting funds in the time of need, in the time of a disaster?
It definitely does, but it also depends on whether the governor has declared it a disaster county. But even if you take the annual allocation of clean water funds, which is that clean water legacy increased sales tax, that money puts out millions of dollars every single year. Every county, every city, there's only certain ways you can apply for it, through the county, through my office, but those funds are available every year by competitive grant applications. But if it's not referenced in your plan, you're ineligible for clean water funds.
Thank you very much for everything that you've done, everything that you do.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye for the water plan.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
I just want to give you one quick blurb because I just learned of it yesterday. The county was awarded $100,000 in cost share funds for the buffer law. We will be attending a meeting next Thursday to define how that's supposed to be spent, whether it'll be so much a foot, so much an acre, or it can also go for cost shareable practices. Landowners only have until March of 2018 to apply for and have the money encumbered, and we only have until 2019 to spend it. So the time frame on getting that money out, so as you're working with your own constituents, make them aware that to meet the buffer law, there will be some financial assistance.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you,
And
Helen.
as soon as you have that signed, thanks.
Okay, Council of Aging, Laurie. How are you this morning?
I am fine.
Good, welcome.
Thank you for having me again this year.
Morning, Lori.
Good morning, Laurie.
Morning. Well, I'm Lori Verosa. I'm the director of the Central Minnesota Council on Aging, and we are the area agency on aging for the 14 counties in the central part of the state here. And as that, our primary responsibility is that we allocate at the local level the federal Older Americans Act funding. So that is funding that's been in place since 1968, and it comes to area agencies on aging, and then we grant that or contract out to area providers to do services that support older adults in their own homes. And our target population is individuals that are frail. They're in need of basic support services to keep them in their own homes. And that our primary low income, our key target for the services are individuals that are lower income. They may or may not be on medical assistance yet, but we're really, in the most part, not targeting the more fluent older adults. We're trying to target the more lower income individuals. All Older Americans Act funding requires that providers provide the service regardless of the individual's ability or willingness to pay for services. So it is on donation basis. Our providers that we work with, they provide individuals with a recommended sliding fee donation scale. But with that said, regardless of a person's income, they can choose to contribute to the service or not and still receive the service. That's how it's set up federally. What you see on the screen there is last year, the impact that the Older Americans Act had in the 14-county area, but I also provided you with a breakout, I think it should be on the next slide, on, I'll go down one more, on Morrison County itself. So in 2016, we awarded out about just over $137,000 of Older Americans Act for service in Morrison County, and then this year, $156,000. So we awarded about another $20,000 for services in Morrison County in 2017. And that was primarily a combination of increased dollars for meals through congregate and home delivered meals, evidence-based health promotion.
This is just for Morrison County.
Well, this here, these figures here is 2016, and this is the impact of what actually happened in 2016 with the Older Americans Act. So yes, so for example, between congregate dining and home delivered meals, about 500 seniors were served with 16,000 meals, and that's a combination of congregate and home delivered meals. 59 individuals received 287 hours of legal consultation. We contract with that with St. Cloud Legal Services. Carla Kruger is the attorney, and those were individuals specifically from Morrison County that received. And so you can see the chore, homemaker, respite. For chore, homemaker, respite, transportation, we just have one service provider, and they were going through quite a bit of staffing changes, and so their units were very low. We do all of ours are on contracts, so we actually negotiate out a rate and reimburse per unit of service delivered. We are seeing substantial changes in 2017 for the level of service currently happening compared to last year, which is what this is reflecting. But we are in process of trying to obtain some additional contracts with additional providers for Morrison County. So for example, we have 2 new providers that are doing caregiver services in Morrison County in addition to our one former one. But we are working, as I said, to try to find some new providers for the, especially the transportation. And our transportation, we really target those funds to medical appointments, social service appointments, and grocery shopping, which could include, for example, going to the food shelf and getting their food commodities, that type of thing. But yes, this is just for Morrison. Did you have a question on that?
No, just curious.
Mr. Chair, Lori, I kinda do, and I don't know
Yep.
if I'm seeing it here.
Yep.
If I've read it and I don't see it.
Yep.
What kind of money, at the end of the day, in 2016, so we'll go back on that for
Mm-hmm. Yep.
17, does this actually mean for Morrison County?
So in 2016, it was $137,916.
That came from where?
That, of the Federal Older Americans Act
Okay.
funding, that was awarded for to provide these services.
Okay.
In 2017, it's $156,049.
And you are kind of the manager that is saying, sort of the manager that's saying
So-
how this is getting divided out? Is that
So,
under-
yes, so the funding comes down to us on a formula, and we receive that funding, and then so right now, for example, we have an RFP out, and we have grant applications that will come into us the end of July here. We have an advisory, which is comprised of older adults and service providers from the 14 counties. So each county has a representative, and then they review the applications. They attend the site visits with the projects, that type of thing. And then it goes to our board in October. And then we have a county commissioner on from each county in their 14-county area. And they actually make funding approvals of the distribution of that funding.
Okay.
Yes, so does that answer
That
your question there?
Answered it, very
Okay.
good, thank you.
So, and then senior linkage is the one service up there that we directly do. And those numbers are specifically for Morrison County. Region-wide, we had 43,000, and 2,322 individuals received face-to-face, or telephone, and then 531 in-person assistance sessions for individuals from Morrison County. And the in-person, we have site time at the clinic here in town, and then we also do in-home visits with individuals. And that can range from helping a person do an appeal to Medicare, to helping them fill out the paperwork to apply for medical assistance, energy assistance, to helping them sit down and meet with them about their situation and evaluate what types of support services need to come into place. Another component of senior linkage is return to community, and that we will be having an expansion for that service that will start in January. But with that, we're targeting individuals that are in the nursing home. They're paying privately. They can be on Medicare, but they're not on they're not on medical assistance paying for that nursing home. And we're coming in and working with the individuals that have not discharged yet from the nursing home within 45 days. What the data shows is if those people stay 90 days, they'll end up remaining there and likely spend down onto medical assistance. So the notion is to intersect at that point. We don't work with people that are on medical assistance because they already have a county case manager or a health plan case manager. So we're working on the private paid people, helping them return back home. The expansion phase of that will be working with individuals that are on home care, where Medicare is ending. Once again, what the data is showing is that people that are on home care, whether they're coming from the nursing home, the ER, or hospital home, they'll receive the home care. When Medicare stops, they may still need maintenance services, but they often will end paying privately for that home care. And then what happens is that those are high, I shouldn't say offenders, but they end up going back, they end up cutting off services, going back into the ER or hospital and kind of repeating that, that cycle. And so the intent is to start intersecting with them, and one of the things will be helping them understand that, yes, home care or other types of services will cost more than $5 an hour, but what's the comparison if you end up back in the hospital or ER, and helping them put together those support services. And so, we will be, right now, we have 3 staff that cover 14 counties, and we will have 6 staff, so we'll be doubling our staff, and we'll have a person, we'll have 2 people located out of Brainerd that will cover kind of these 5-county area, and then throughout the rest of our region as well. So that's kind of the expansion side of it. And the other thing I just want, so the other thing, with the Older Americans Act funding, we are required to have match to that. Our total match is just over $50,000, and so what we have done historically is we've prorated that by county. Our funding levels they really remain flat, so you have not, you don't see an increase. Our request is the same as in the past of $2,534. And like I said, that's prorated to each of the 14 counties based on the 60-plus population, because that's our main formula for the Older Americans Act funding. So that is my request to the county at this time, is the $2,534 for 2018.
I don't know.
Yes.
Okay,
We will.
I would so move on that, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we have a motion by
Second.
Commissioner Johnson, seconded by Commissioner Lemire. Any further discussion?
I actually have a question, Mr. Chair. From the people that you just got done talking about, and there's 2 more coming on or 4 more coming on, you can't possibly take care of everybody with the $156,000. Where does the money come from?
With that is totally separate funding.
Yeah.
That's state, so that's not part of this 156.
Where does your
That's-
funding come from?
For the senior linkage?
Yeah, it's gotta come from more
Yeah.
than $2,500.
So, yeah, no, so the senior linkage dollars is it's mainly state funding, so that's not part of this federal Older Americans Act. There is a small amount of, we have, I think it's like 26,000 of caregiver out of the Older Americans Act funding. It's a small amount that we use out of the Older Americans Act, primarily to match the state. And then the rest of it's state dollars that's coming in for senior
Great.
linkage.
That answered it, thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you very much.
And I just have one more thing that I just wanted to pass around for you. I won't go through this too extensively, but we just put together a report on aging. And if you turn to the very back page, these breakouts is all coming from the website listed on the bottom, and the state just produced this, and there's a way of, it's an interactive website, so all these data tables can be ran specifically for Morrison County. It's a nice planning tool to be used, so if you ever have staff that want to be trained how to use that, we certainly can do that. It's fairly intuitive. And then the second, the back page, the only one that's not coming from that data is the health rankings. And one of the things when we look at the health rankings, is that our region in itself, most of our counties are in the bottom tier in terms of the health rankings. And so one of the things that we are encouraging counties to do is when they The SHIP dollars, the state health improvement dollars, were just renewed this last legislative session. And, you know, this is one tool that can be used along with others to try to make the case in terms of how that funding is allocated. You know, we have, I think in Morrison County ranks 55th in one category of that and in 74th in another. I mean, there is I think that it's one piece of information that can be used to try to make the case for how that SHIP dollars are allocated across the state and the need to invest more dollars in counties that, that have higher levels of improvement that can be accomplished. So I would just encourage you to use that information.
Sounds good.
So, yes, thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much, Lori.
Thank you.
Okay, next we got social service report. Brad?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Good morning, Brad. Good morning, Penny.
Good morning.
So this morning we have on our agenda a developmental disabilities report, and Penny has put together some information that is in your packet and is going to talk a little bit about that information. So,
Sure, so just to review a little bit, developmental disability, commonly referred to as DD, provides case management either with or without the waiver. In order for an individual to be eligible for case management, they need to have a developmental disability diagnosis or related condition and must have a min-choice assessment completed and found to be eligible with that tool as well. So if you scroll down just a little bit, the first graph that we're looking at is our statistics right now for case management. Currently we have a total of 200 cases either open or in assessment receiving DD case management. We have 3.5 staff that cover that case management for those 200 individuals. In 2017, there's a new requirement that the min-choices assessment must be completed at least every 3 years, whether somebody wants to be on the waiver or not. This was new legislation that came down from us. So before they were found eligible, they were eligible for life. Now it's must have a new min-choices at minimum every 3 years, or they could have it every year if they so choose. But they can opt out for 2 years, but on that third year, we're mandated to do that. So that will be a change for us.
Mr. Chair, Penny, why would we need to do it if they don't necessarily want to be on the waiver anymore? Just, I mean, why would we need that?
just because the state says so.
Okay.
So that's 200 new assessments every 3 years, which is about an 8 to 12 hour process.
So that's 200 assessments, and 50 of those assessments could be, I'm just making up a number is all I'm doing, could be absolutely worthless. But the state is saying you have to do it anyway. Am I correct?
And honestly, I'd say probably for most of those individuals, the assessment's useless anyway, because there's been a plan of care that has been, a case plan that's been developed on an annual basis where decisions are made about what they're gonna have, what we're gonna pay for through the waiver, those kinds of things. So I wouldn't even just say 50 of them, Commissioner Jelinski, so.
If I may, Mr. Chair, Brad, Penny, is the waiver something that they can elect to get off the client, or is that something that the caretaker says, hey, they don't need to be on it anymore, or the reason why they don't wanna be on it?
They certainly can choose to decline waivered services. The waiver just opens up such a wealth of services to keep them living, working, engaged in their community. Whether it is services so that they can be living in their own apartment or living with a roommate and having services come in to meet some daily needs that maybe they need supports with. Without the waiver, there's no other funding stream for DD individuals to access those services.
So why would they elect not to be on it?
Some are still living with family and they're meeting their needs without some of that external professional services coming in to do that. Children also may not yet be on, so developmental disability starts at 0. And so some of those individuals may not get on until they get out of school and are looking for some employment supports, and then look at getting into their own place, and then they would require additional waiver supports.
Which, prior to 2 years ago, there was family members who were taking care of their disabled child, sibling even, and did not require any waivered services. And waivers were so tight that, parents all of a sudden turn 80, maybe have a medical issue, and they could no longer care for them, and we didn't have the resources to provide waivered services to them. And so we struggled to manage, and now the waiver is open to really anybody. So when family members are not able to care for their family members anymore, it's easier for us to fill that gap. So, but yeah, family members, a lot of parents have taken care of their disabled kids for many years until their health no longer allows that.
I just kind of want to, if I could, Mr. Chair, touch a little bit on what Penny said with that new requirement, or that additional requirement to have those assessments completed, and the amount of time it takes for each client to do that, and the staff that are already, maxed with workload at, at a level that's just case managing. So you think about how that compounds, and sometimes when we talk about staffing needs and such, it's this kind of thing that's driving that need for additional staffing, and really stresses the resources that we have.
There's a seed that's planted for next Tuesday.
Seed coming already.
This is one of those things, though, we should probably have on our list when we talk to legislators. Well, can I get on my soapbox for just a moment, Mr. Chair? Because actually at this last legislative session, the state, in their infinite wisdom, decided to cut the state allocation to Minnesota Choices, while at the same time putting in more requirements. And so, so they took.
They sent us a lot of funding for this, I'm assuming.
Actually, we've done fairly well, and it's actually covered the cost of the program until this regulation, this requirement, and then I think about a 13% cut for 2017, 18.
15% on the state share side, yeah.
And then about a 18.3% cut for 18, 19 of the state share. So we'll come with those figures next week. But before that, we actually were doing okay with the Minnesota Choices allocation in terms of our staffing. But now you add 50 per year, and things change. I will say the Department of Human Services is looking at a work group to try to create some efficiencies, because the legislation did allow that, but didn't state anywhere within that what it would be. And so there's still some work to be done on that, so. I just think it's real important that we work on these efficiencies with the state government, because they bring down all these mandates that we have to implement, and there's no money to it. Then when you come and ask for more help, and people wonder why we're hiring more people, it all relates to this stuff. And I can understand that when things make sense, but when they're already covered and things, we've just got to do more work on that, I think. And staff have always been good about assessing their clients in terms of if there's changes and that need to be managed, but now they're requiring it. So it's not as if this population was not getting their needs met, was not being assessed when necessary, and now they're requiring it for everybody.
Mr. Chair, I find it extremely hard to believe, I truly do, that the legislature just said this is what we're gonna do. DHS had to have been on the docket to talk about this stuff.
I'm not sure where this requirement
do you
came
know
from, but
that or
I
not?
do know DHS really pushed the legislature not to cut Minnesota Choices funding, but they needed to have some cost savings, and that was a way for the state to have a little bit of cost savings. It's about 2.3 million, I think, in the first fiscal year, and a little bit more in the second fiscal year that the state was able to save by not passing that funding down to the counties. So that really was a direct loss to counties.
And that's in regard to the funding, Commissioner, but talking about the types of changes and services that we have, it's kind of, sometimes it happens where there's a case or two of very vocal folks or that have reached media attention, that have caused changes in legislature to require us to all fit into a box to handle certain situations certain ways. And so, child protection, adult services, all of that is impacted by it, not necessarily looking at where most people are doing very well in serving clients. We all have to now fit into a clear box to help fix one smaller issue.
Sounds good. Thank you.
So talking a little bit more about the min-choice assessments, I did break down, just for the first part of the year, looking from 2017 back to 2016, the comparisons. Overall, we're up about 20 assessments for min-choices for this year. And that really is due to, we are 100% min-choice assessments right now, as is expected by the state. And we'll continue to see. So as we do approximately 10 new assessments every single month, next year, those are now going to be reassessments if they opt onto the waiver. So as our waiver needs increase and we screen more people, they accept the waiver and those services, the next year, they're all reassessments and we add 10 more.
And at 8 to 12 hours per just assessment, that's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
I'm really happy to report that the state has continued to support these needs at this time, that if you see on the next slide, our waiver budget continues to increase. So they continue to give us the dollars to provide the services for the individuals who are eligible and wanting the waivered services.
So this is the services that, the dollars that go to the providers that provide the services, not the dollars that come to the county to pay the people to.
No,
allow-
some of them do.
Oh, they do,
Yeah,
some of this.
some of that does, yeah.
For the case management
Yeah.
component
Yeah.
of it, comes
Yeah.
out of the waiver dollars. In 2016, there was approximately 200,000 revenue for target case management and waiver case management for individuals with developmental disabilities. January through April of this year, we're at 87,000 revenue for that case management, so we're on target for about $240,000 this year in case management revenue.
Is that all random moment captured, or
No,
is that?
this is strictly case management. The random moment for Minnesota Choices is another funding stream. So of that 11 million, again, most of this money is staying with providers within Morrison County. We do have some clients who may live in a foster home in another county or maybe with family in another county, but I would say 90% of this is staying local in terms of providers and home health care, things like that, so.
Looking at the allocations, so again, waiver allocations is funds that come in. If an individual is eligible for the waiver and opts to use those services, if we have an allocation available, that means that those are funds that we will get to provide those services for individuals. If we do not have an allocation, we are just using any excess dollars that maybe other people didn't use in their allocation. So allocations are really important that we get those to be able to support the individuals that we have. If you notice, we continuously climb pretty steadily in the last couple of years for those allocations, and like Brad said, the state has really opened up their support for waivered services and individuals to receive those. 2017 was abnormal, and I would expect to see it decrease next year because of St. Camilla's closing. So 12 of those 21 allocations were directly for those individuals coming out of St. Camilla's moving into foster home.
Okay.
But right now, we do still have 5 open allocations, and we have no individuals on the wait list.
Is that unusual, that we don't have anybody on the wait list?
In history, yes.
Yeah.
That is a significant change over the last couple of years, but I think that kind of has ebbed and flowed. If you look back years after that, it kind of went through this where they had and supported and gave allocations, then they tightened it up and really didn't have much, and there were a lot of wait lists, and now we're kind of back into this open swing of things where there's allocations and funds being distributed for it, so.
I would imagine in the past history, we've been in double digits in wait lists for developmental disability waivers.
Okay.
To get people to served in their own home or to maintain them in their living environment.
Did, is the state, what's the name of that place that closed?
St. Camilla's?
St. Camilla's. When they closed, did the state say, well, we're gonna save money by closing this and putting them in foster care? Or who determined that?
Actually, it was a decision made by the organization that owns St. Camilla's to discontinue providing that service. It was not a mandate from the state. Actually, between St. Gabriel's, CHI St. Gabriel's, our agency and the state, it worked very well in terms of the closing of that facility. It's rare to have such a seamless process, I think. So But it was nothing that our agency or the state did. It was a decision that CHI made in terms of their mission and vision moving forward.
Totally business, yeah.
So they did it very nice in managing it and working with the families.
Waiver enrollment, so if you look at that graph, we continuously, as our allocations have increased, we continue to use those. We're right now at 135 individuals on the developmental disability waiver, which is separate from other waivers, so just developmental disabilities is 135 individuals receiving waivered services. And the last slide is just kind of a general breakdown for you of age range of individuals on our DD waiver. I mean, looking that we do have individuals as young as 7 that are using some of those waivered services to come into the home and support the parents, to help them to meet their developmental trajectory as high as they can from the get-go, because we know if we can help them be successful and learn as much as possible at the younger age, that will continue to benefit them throughout, so.
Good job.
Hey,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Penny.
You bet.
Have a
I
safe trip.
think, Mr. Chair, if I just could, Penny's done a great job in really supporting all of these programs. There's a lot, and the staff to do them, and I know that continued requirements puts a strain on that entire unit. So thank you for that work. I appreciate it, because I know it's not easy.
You're welcome. I have some great staff that do a great job, that make my job easy, so, thank you.
Thank you, Penny.
That's all on the social service side. I do have one public health item, and that is to renew the 3.2 non-intoxicating on-sale liquor license for the Genola Athletic
So
Club.
moved. Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Wincher, seconded by Commissioner Johnson. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, is this for a one-time shot, or is this a year-round thing?
It's a year-round thing. It's a renewal.
Okay,
Unfortunately, he was a little bit late in getting his application in, so he had to hold off for a couple weeks, but he'll be good to go after today, so.
okay.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
And that's all I have today.
Brad, thank you
All right,
very much.
thanks. Have a good
See
day.
you next week.
Yeah, see you a lot of things next week. Plan a big day for next Tuesday.
Bring a lunch.
See you later, Brian.
See you, Brian.
Okay, land service report. Amy, how are you this morning?
Morning, Amy.
Good morning, Amy.
Okay, I have a few items for you as follow-up from the last planning commission meeting. The first one is to consider the interim use permit for Randy and Jody Hampson. As a reminder, this is for a limited rural business, specifically for a event venue. This was recommended for approval by the planning commission with 7 conditions. And those 7 conditions were, abide by all applicable state and local laws and that apply to event venues such as building and fire code and food and beverage service. Solid waste shall be removed by a licensed solid waste hauler. Parking shall not occur within the road rights-of-ways. Food and liquor shall be prepared and served by persons licensed to do so if applicable. Outdoor DJ or live music must end by 12:30 a.m. Maintain a current certificate of compliance for the septic system serving the event center. And the interim use permit shall terminate when a member of the Randy and Joni Hampson family no longer owns the property.
Okay, can I get a motion for that?
Make a
So
motion,
move on
Mr.
that, Mr. Chair.
I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Johnson, seconded by Commissioner Lemire. Is there any further discussion? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. The next one I have is to consider the conditional use permit request for Joseph and Susan Hudek and also Reed's LLC. This is a ATV salvage yard, and they're looking to expand the existing ATV salvage yard with the construction of a storage building and an apartment. This was also recommended for approval by the Planning Commission with 11 conditions. And this, a lot of these conditions were just carryover from the original permit regarding the salvage yard. And those are abide by all applicable state and local laws in regards to junk and salvage yards and proper disposal of fluids and wastes. Privacy fencing of the outdoor storage area shall occur before inventory arrives on site. Fencing must be at least 8 feet in height. The fencing shall be maintained and be in good condition at all times. Work area shall be impervious surface. maintain records of disposal of automotive fluids and wastes, and provide for viewing of documents by the planning and zoning office when requested. No storage of vehicles or vehicle components shall be located outside the privacy fencing on the property. Any orders from the Little Falls Fire Department shall be implemented, maintained, and updated as needed. Hours of operation shall be between 6 a.m. and 7 p.m. Shrubbery at least 4 feet tall shall be maintained on the north and west sides of the property. Property owner shall maintain the existing trees located on the south end of the property. ATV operation related to repair and salvage business activities shall occur within the building or fenced area, and all parking shall be on site and shall not be upon the right-of-way of Gross Road.
Could I get a motion on this one?
Make a motion, Mr. Chair.
Got a motion by
Second.
Commissioner Lemire, seconded by Commissioner Wincher. Any further discussion? This one was just kind of unique because we seen it start up and a year later they're coming back and asking for more, and the business is going over very well, so that's nice to see.
It is very nice to see, and they've done a nice job over the past year complying with their original conditional use permit, so that was really nice to see.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. All right, the next one is to consider the interim use permit for Rice Creek Family Farm. The interim use permit is for an addition onto their existing lodge to provide indoor event venue area. This also was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission with 8 conditions. Those conditions are abide by all applicable state and local laws that apply to event venues such as building and fire code and food and beverage service. Solid waste shall be removed by a licensed solid waste hauler. Parking shall not occur within the road rights-of-ways. Food and liquor shall be prepared and served by persons licensed to do so, if applicable. Outdoor DJ or live music must end by 12:30 a.m. Maintain a current certificate of compliance for the septic system serving the event center. The interim use permit shall terminate when there is a change in ownership of the property. And the last one is the property owner shall contact the MPCA to discuss the applicability of NPDES permitting to the project and shall follow through with any applicable permitting with the MPCA.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Got a motion by Commissioner Wincher, seconded by Commissioner Jelinski. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Amy, could you, that number 8 there with the
Yes.
MPCA and stuff, could you explain that to me,
Yes.
please?
There are thresholds within the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency because they handle the stormwater regulations, the federal regulations. When you're disturbing an acre or more, you need to secure stormwater permitting. The Planning Commission felt that with all of the construction that they were doing, they might be at that threshold and wanted the applicant to at least be checking with the MPCA and running that project by them. And their concern was that there was a fair amount of impervious surface there already and not really sure where the stormwater was gonna move or go. So they wanted to make sure that they were properly handling that during construction and after construction. I do know that the property owner already asked for the contact information from the MPCA, so they're certainly reaching out. I haven't heard back, however, as far as if their scope of work is going to trip this requirement.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, they've been required regardless, this was just kind of a
Yes.
belt and suspenders kind of
Yes.
approach to make
Yep.
sure they were aware.
Yep.
If they're over an acre, they're required.
Correct. Yeah, so the way this is written, we're not requiring them to get a permit that they don't qualify for or can't get. It's just that they need to see if they need to have this coverage, and if they do, then they need to get it.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess that answers my question too, because I was gonna ask about that one also.
Sure.
So, okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. And the last one I have is to consider the conditional use permit request for the Rice Creek Family Farm. And this one is to establish a campground. And this was also recommended for approval by the Planning Commission with 5 conditions. And that is no more than 12 camping units shall be utilized on the property at any time. Develop and maintain a set of campground rules that addresses at a minimum quiet time, emergency and storm procedures, firewood, fireworks, and pets. Solid waste shall be removed by a licensed solid waste hauler, and prohibition of burning of garbage within fire rings. Maintain a current certificate of compliance for the holding tank / dump station serving the campground. and the property owner shall contact the MPCA to discuss the applicability of the MPDS permitting with the MPCA.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Jelinski, seconded by Commissioner Wincher. Any other discussion? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, that's all I have for you today.
Well,
you.
thank you, very kind of ma'am.
Thank you very much, Amy. Are you in all day? Amy, or-
I am in all day, yes.
Okay, corrections, Nicole.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Nicole.
You're also agreeable today. I hope that continues.
Well,
I
it's
have a
about-
list here of what I'm gonna
It's
ask.
about time we're not.
It's a good day, we might as well keep going.
That's right, excellent. Before you is the DOC amended budget, and as I stated at planning session, the the legislature allocated additional funds towards corrections statewide. And so DOC is requiring that I submit an amended budget and add those additional funds in, and then they will pay us.
Okay. Sounds good. Can I get a motion?
I
on
would
that?
so move on that, Mr.
Second.
Chair.
Got a motion by Commissioner Johnson, seconded by
I did.
Commissioner Jelinski. Any further discussion? on
Mr. Chair, so what we're talking about is amending a budget to actually get money for a change,
That is
to
correct.
bring money into Morrison County.
That is correct.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Excellent.
That's pretty easy.
The second item is, I am here requesting permission to have your authority to sign the joint powers agreement with the drug court. And it's with the Seventh Judicial who contracts for the state. So the state courts give money to each judicial district, and then each judicial district creates a joint powers agreement with individual drug courts. This, if all funds come through, and the reason I say if is right now the funds are short slightly, but in September, we're supposed to be getting the remaining funds, so they are writing the contract for the full amount. That's how confident they are. If those funds come through, there will be no money from Morrison County paid for drug court at this time. In the future, we will be required to put some money in because this is the most money we will receive with the new system that the state drug courts have set up. So once salaries go beyond and costs increase, we will have to put money in, but at this time, we do not. So essentially, I'm just asking for permission to sign the contract. I've been doing it for the last 5 years, and Brian did review the contract. The language is the same, and he was fine with it.
I would so move on it, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Johnson, seconded by Commissioner Lemire. Any further discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chair. And Nicole, you said in future, we might have, the drug court, we might have to pay some. But I think it's helping, the drug court has helped other things, so it's saving money other places, am I right?
Absolutely. It is
Using the
actually
drug court.
saving taxpayer dollars
Right.
as far as children not being removed from homes if parents are in treatment or in prison.
Yeah.
And so we are seeing a cost benefit of it. There is also a graduation tomorrow at 1:30 at drug court. If you are available, you're encouraged to attend. It's someone who has grown up in Morrison County, and she has done one heck of a job in drug court, and it will be a very proud moment.
Okay.
Sounds good. We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Nicole.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you, Nicole.
Auditors report.
Catch you later. Won't take long. Okay.
Good morning, Deb.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, gentlemen.
Good morning, Deb.
Couple of quick items. We have some gambling permits. I need your approval.
There's 3 of them on there, is that
3 of
correct?
them on here, that's
I'll make a
correct.
motion.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Wincher, seconded by Commissioner Lemire. Any further discussion?
Other than it is approved by Sean, these applications.
Yep.
And Mr. Chair, these are all, each one are for one event?
The last one at Hillman is ongoing for pull tabs, bingo, tip boards, and paddle wheel.
Ongoing, okay.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. And then the second item is for the forfeited property to approve the application for repurchase. The check did clear.
Also move, Mr.
We
Chair.
got a motion by Commissioner Lemire,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Johnson. Is there any further discussion?
Great news. It's done. It's off the books.
Done and
It's
off our
taken a
plate.
while, so.
Absolutely.
For now,
For
the
now.
process could start
Yeah,
over
well.
again, but we'll just.
Well,
see
and that's
what's
fine,
traded.
but this is,
Right.
Moving
this is
forward.
good.
We got a
Time, but
motion
it's
and a
good.
second, and all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Warrants?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to pay all the bills, including all the bills, credit
second
cards,
that.
statements, and everything.
We have a motion by Commissioner Jelinski, seconded by Commissioner Johnson. Is there any further discussion? Roll call. Commissioner Lemire.
Aye.
Commissioner Wincher.
Aye.
Commissioner Jelinski.
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
And I.
And then I
They
believe
told me I needed a roll call.
Steve
even if it
submitted the
says
cash
that.
report for your review.
Yeah,
Thank you, guys.
and he did.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Just trying to help you.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Looking for that name tags.
Should we take about an hour break, you think?
An hour break? No, we got another meeting coming up.
Funny guy, right, Steve?
Public Works, Steve.
I knew I was gonna change your attitude.
No, you never do, Steve.
Always, it's great to see you, Steve.
Morning, Steve.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. A bunch of action items for your consideration today.
These are all roll call.
The first item is a project in which we have partnered with the city of Royalton for a Safe Routes to School project. We sponsored Royalton's application for federal funding for this project, in which they were successful. There was some additional repurposed funds from a HBP project that also went towards this project for the city of Royalton. Following the initial design of the project, Safe Routes to School, I should say, is an 80-20 split. So 80% is funded by federal dollars, but the local agency has to provide 20% of the project cost. So initially, when the project was designed and laid out, it exceeded what the city of Royalton could afford. And so there was a scaling back of the project in order to get it more in line with the money that they had available for this work. And so they scaled that back, we went to bid. Now what we did in this situation is we included the update to ADA on our County State Aid Highway 26 with their Safe Routes to School project because it's all concrete, similar type work. We need to do that in order to, what is required of us now as we move into paving projects within the cities, we have to update and be compliant with the ADA before they'll release funds for pavement work or any of the other type of work that we want to do there. So we wanted to, the economies of scale, and we wanted to have that work done so that when we came in to do the pavement surfacing, it was out of the way and it made our other project easy and convenient to do. And so what we have here is this $415,001.50 is both projects, the Safe Routes to Schools and our ADA on our CSA 26 from the west city limits to CSA 54 in Royalton. It breaks down about 50-50, very close to that. They're bid together because the unit prices in a single contract are the same. And so what we will need is for the board to award the project contingent on the city of Royalton concurring tonight, they're meeting tonight to discuss this. It continues to be somewhat controversial, I think, in the city of Royalton, so I'm not sure exactly how that may play out for them. They may reject bids. If they reject those bids, then I will have to bring this back to you because the contingency is not met. But my request is and recommend that we would award contract 275 to Cushel Underground Incorporated in the amount of $415,001.50. And we will work to maximize the federal grant amount that the city has because the grant they had was just about $200,000. 80% for their work is about 160-some thousand. So there's $35,000 to $40,000 extra in there. That may go for cost overruns, or because we tied CASA 26, I'm in conversations with MnDOT that we may apply that to our project, use those federal funds. So we'll work to maximize those dollars that way, and then we'll also work to assist the city of Royalton in construction, staking, inspection, those type of things, to offset what we get in federal dollars on our project.
Can I get a motion on that?
So moved.
We got a motion by Commissioner Wincher, seconded by
Second.
Commissioner Johnson. Is there any further discussion?
Steve, I had, the reason we're good, because 26 also needs some repair too, does it not?
The surface, the road surface is in poor condition in the city of Royalton, but the sidewalk and the accesses at the intersections are not ADA compliant. We need to do this.
So that has to get done.
Work before we can improve the pavement surface on this project. Now, if they reject it, commissioners, what I would bring back to you is that we would combine the ADA work with the surfacing work and have to rebid it next year. We won't be able to get it done this
Yep.
year.
Mr. Chair, Steve, are they gonna just forego the funding then? If they don't?
That's what would happen if they do that.
Okay, this is a roll call. Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
Commissioner Jelinski.
Aye.
Commissioner Wincher.
Aye.
Commissioner Lemire.
Aye.
And aye.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Now, the second contract award we're requesting is to Tri-City Paving as the lowest responsible bidder in amount $213,531.55. This is the surface work in the city of Royalton on this same project. And so my request to the board is that they would award this contract to Tri-City Paving contingent on the city of Royalton awarding their Safe Routes to School project.
So moved.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Jelinski, seconded by
Second.
Go ahead.
Well, it's yours.
Mr. Lemay, that's fine, yeah.
Commissioner Lemire. Any further discussion? None, this is a roll call. Commissioner Jelinski.
Aye.
Commissioner Wincher.
Aye.
Commissioner Lemire.
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
And aye.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Contract 277 is again a project that we have partnered with the Township of Richardson, in which we made application for state park account funds to provide gravel surfacing and calcium chloride on a road near PV Lake, around PV Lake and access to PV Lake. We advertised, we only received one bid. It's a relatively small project. The bid came in, though, in our opinion, it is reasonable, and that we would recommend that the board would award this to Kowalczyk Gravel Incorporated in the amount of $51,085.25. The grant for this road to Richardson Township is, I believe, $44,000, and so the majority of this comes from the state park account fund that they received the grant for.
I'll make a motion on that. Can I get a second?
Second.
Commissioner Wincher seconded. Any further discussion? If none, we'll have a roll call. Commissioner Lemire.
Aye.
Commissioner Wincher.
Aye.
Commissioner Jelinski.
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
And aye.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Contract 1704 is for the construction of the historic courthouse parking lot to the west side of the courthouse. The department has been working with administration for the design and permitting and management of this project. And so we received bids, and we received two bids of Kim and Dirt Diggers, who constructed the parking lot on the north side of the courthouse last year, and Anderson Brothers Construction. The project came in at $86,671.21. I believe that's within the budget constraints that the administration had set for this work. And so it's our recommendation that the board would award this to Kim and Dirt Diggers.
Can I get a motion on that?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Wincher, seconded by Commissioner Lemire. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, I just want to thank Steve and his staff for working on this. I know they have a busy construction season, and due to some other, waiting on learning more about the tower and how that's gonna move and all that, they've been very patient, and I appreciate that because I know that it has stressed your staff resources.
Mr.
Thank you.
Chair, Deb, Steve, in the design of that lot, there's, the design is, somebody that designs this stuff knows much more than I do about it. There's still gonna be like as much of a green area as we can squeeze into
Yes.
the parking area and bushes and
Yep.
trees and such.
There's a
that we
path, I
will-
don't know how wide it is of green. Do you remember?
But I mean, we're just.
I don't know the width of it, but
What I'm
what
trying to say
really
is we're gonna
drives it,
do whatever we can.
Commissioner, is
Yep.
we're essentially starting at the sidewalk on the very west end of the street.
Yep.
We have to manage the stormwater.
Yep.
And so the sizing of the retention basin is about 12 feet wide, so that takes the next 12 feet up. Then we have 2 lanes and the ability to back in and out for the parking traffic.
Yep.
And then there is a sidewalk then on the very edge of that to be able to access the old courthouse and come over to the public health area. And then everything else will be green. So it was as much as we could muster with what we had to build into the design. It's always nice to have more, but it's as much as we could get.
And the historical folks are.
Yep, and Mr.
Good
Chair,
with
we
that
did work with the Minnesota Historical Society and the local Little Falls Historical Preservation Committee to
Very
talk about our design. Of course, nobody wants to see green space
Oh,
go, we don't
I know.
either, but there are improvements that we're
Yeah.
making to the overall look of the facility and really the complex. So there'll be a number of trees that are planted, as
Very good.
large as we can afford within the budget
Yep.
at this time. That will clean it up a bit. We're going to try to work to do some other planting or some other aesthetically pleasing
Yep.
landscaping too, so.
Very good.
I'll go with that.
Okay, we have a motion on this one, right, in a second. Okay, this is a roll call vote. Commissioner Wincher.
Aye.
Commissioner Lemire.
Aye.
Commissioner Jelinski.
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
And aye.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now to switch a little bit here, we're going to ask for certificate of completions on some of the work that we have completed for this season. The first would be contract 1701 on our calcium chloride application. This was with Tri-City Paving. This is work that on our gravel road system that we placed calcium chloride for dust control and maintenance and saving of our gravel surfaces. John Shalanka manages this, and he did a good job with those folks in getting this done, but it is completed and would recommend the board authorize us to make final payment.
So move.
Good.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Johnson, seconded by Commissioner Wincher. Is there any further discussion? Yep. This is a roll call again. Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
Commissioner Jelinski.
Aye.
Commissioner Wincher.
Aye.
Commissioner Lemire.
Aye.
And aye. Thank
Chairman,
you.
members of the board, we're requesting that the board would certify completion on contract 269, which was the installation of chevrons on curves across our system that were not signed with chevrons that met the criteria that's been established by the department for chevron installations. Chevrons are a safety measure that has a pretty strong safety improvement once they're installed that has been demonstrated. And so there was a number of curves left in our system. We applied for a highway safety improvement grant and received that, and that's what paid for 80% of that, 90% of this. And so we have completed that work and requesting the board that we would make final payment to the contract.
I'll move on that, Mr. Chair.
We have a
Second.
motion by Commissioner Jelinski, seconded by Commissioner Lemire. This is roll call. Commissioner Lemire.
Aye.
Commissioner Wincher.
Aye.
Commissioner Jelinski.
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
And aye.
Again, another highway safety improvement project for ground-in pavement markings. This is edge line on certain roads that qualified for this type of 6-inch edge line, white edge line. They're listed 5, 16, 17, 22, 26, 28, 35, 48, and County Road 274. Traffic Marking Services was the low contractor on this work. The work is completed. We recommend that the board would approve final payment to this contractor.
So move.
Got a motion by
Second.
Commissioner Johnson, seconded by Commissioner Lemire. Any other discussion?
Mr. Chair, Steve, this is something kinda new.
We've been doing this for about 3 years where we get it funded by the highway safety, or county, through our county safety program. And it's highway safety improvement funds. We've been doing it for about 3 years. It's the 6-inch edge line. It's ground down so that we don't take it off with our plows. It's higher reflectivity. It's those type of things that, again, show a real safety improvement to the user, and it's more system-wide, where we're not trying to chase accidents. We're trying to do this system-wide so we prevent future accidents.
And are we seeing a success with it being ground in and the plow, the blade going over and not disturbing it as much as surface?
Yes, we're seeing that it lasts longer, the reflectivity is there longer. Typically, you're looking at 2 to 3 years on a normal application. Here, they're 7.
Okay, excellent.
Did I ask for the motion already? Okay.
Yep, that was discussion.
I'm getting confused with all these.
We only
Okay,
have one left.
This is a roll call. Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
Commissioner Jelinski.
Aye.
Commissioner Wincher.
Aye.
Commissioner Lemire.
Aye.
And aye.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, then the last one is again to traffic marking services, where we painted across our system, improved the paint that was 3 years old. Most of this was, so it was replacing that white edge line. It qualified for, and also center line, 4-inch center line. It qualified for the highway safety improvement funds, and the work has been completed, and we'd recommend that the board would make final payment to the contractor.
Can I get a motion on that?
Also move, Mr.
Got a motion by
Second.
Commissioner Lemire, seconded by Commissioner Johnson. Is there any further discussion? Or,
Commissioner
I'm sorry.
Wincher, I
I'm
think.
sorry, yep.
Wincher, yep.
Okay, with the roll call, Commissioner Lemire.
Aye.
Commissioner Wincher.
Aye.
Commissioner Jelinski.
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
And aye.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. I thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you. Thank you very
Steve.
kindly.
See you tonight,
Have a good
Steve.
day.
Okay, administration
All right,
report.
Mr. Chair, I have a resolution that we talked about last week. It's regarding the mobile command trailer. I told Sheriff Larson I would help out with this. The Sheriff's Office applied for and received grant funding through NJPA for $100,000 to go towards the purchase of a mobile command trailer. That can be used, well, for a number of reasons, but primary focus would be on providing that resource in the event of an emergency, but also many opportunities for assisting in various emergency response situations that wouldn't necessarily be storm-related or natural disasters, but crime issues or things of that nature. And so a great resource, a great tool that we have, and certainly much of the cost offset by the grant funding with NJPA. We talked last time about the uniqueness of this product and about the purchasing requirements that we have through state legislation that are required that we follow. And so within this resolution, it's outlined not only that we receive the grant funding, that we will utilize fund balance that Sean has, the Sheriff's Office has built up over time to offset the rest of the cost, and then also that we took steps to ensure that we were getting good pricing and meeting the purchasing requirements imposed upon us by the state. And so all of that kind of is encompassed in the resolution that we talked extensively about last planning session, but is now presented for vote this time.
Okay, can I get a motion on this?
I'll move on it.
Got a motion by
Second.
Commissioner Jelinski, seconded by Commissioner Lemire. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, this is just gonna be a huge positive all the way around at the end of the day.
Yep.
For learning, for education. And of course, it's there to be used for, in the event of stuff that nobody wants to talk about. And the stuff that nobody wants to talk about, nobody wants to talk about. This is a big deal. This is a very important piece of equipment for that agency. And I believe not only for that agency, but for the county as a whole.
In the region.
And the surrounding
And
counties.
exactly, and the surrounding counties that are in Region 5 that
Right.
are part of this. This is a big deal. So,
all 5 counties.
yep,
Mr. Chair,
exactly.
it's been a long time coming. I know Sheriff Larson talked to me about it years ago, and previous sheriff, it was on a radar
Absolutely.
that was there, but to be able to have that, funding to help offset the cost is huge, and a great resource and tool.
I think the thing that's really important in today when something goes on is the communication that you have with dispatchers. I don't think that people really realize that they kind of run everything because everything goes through them. Even though they're behind the scenes and you see the officers out at a site or whatever's going on, it's the communication that you have between all divisions, you know, whether Camp Ripley comes in, whether it's fire department, whether it's the police, and that's a real important part, and I think this tool here will enhance that quite a bit.
Absolutely.
So, okay, this is a roll call. Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
Commissioner Jelinski.
Aye.
Commissioner Wincher.
Aye.
Commissioner Lemire.
Aye.
And aye.
Perfect, thank you. The next resolution I have is or the next action item would be to consider approval of the tentative agreement with LELS, Law Enforcement Labor Services, for the dispatch unit. As you know, we've been working on wrapping up contract negotiations with a couple of units. The arrangement is for 17, 18, and 19, follows the exact same pattern that I've brought to you in a couple of other contracts, in which the 17 and 18 COLAs are 2%, the 19 is 3% for the group, and then the pay scale arrangement's again the same. It mirrors what it is we've done across the board with the entire organization, and so I'm asking for that approval today.
So moved.
We got a motion by Commissioner Wincher, seconded by
I'll second it.
Commissioner Jelinski. Is there any further discussion?
It's kind of, excuse me.
Just gonna
Mr.
tell Deb, good job on it.
Very good job, and Mr. Chair, it's ironic, we just got done talking about dispatchers. This is a big deal. In the world that we're living in today, and Deb's done the research, she knows, go around to other counties. Dispatchers are a commodity that is really truly second to none, because who wants the job, number one? Nobody really wants that job anymore because of the complexity, if you will, that is into it. So wonderful, great job.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. It's okay not to do a roll call, right?
Yes, there's one
been so
more
many of them.
outstanding contract yet with the correctional officer group. I'm hoping to get that wrapped up shortly, so we can apply retro pay at the same time. There's a number of different steps that we take in HR and payroll to be able to do that.
Kind of off the subject, but I think Sean's got all the positions filled in
Oh, yes.
In
dispatch, doesn't he?
dispatch,
I think-
yes, I believe
'Cause I know
so.
that's
There
a
might be a
tough-
couple yet in the training period, because it does take quite a
Right.
bit of time to
That's a
get folks
tough
up to
position,
speed.
like Commissioner Jelinski said, yeah.
But yeah, it's taken a while, though. It's been hard to find and retain folks and get them on board. A couple updates, a few of them. First of all, the lovely lady sitting next to me is Melissa Sineski. She's the new member of administration. Very excited to have her on board. Beth and I, we had, I think almost 20 applicants for the position, and Melissa really stood out in terms of what she's bringing to the table with HR experience, which I appreciate. And I think knows the community, is involved in the community, and all of that will be just nothing but an asset to Morrison County and administration. So I'm excited to have her on board and get her up to speed. And I told her every day we learn something new and you deal with something different. So it's an interesting job. I hope she enjoys it as much as we'll enjoy having her. Continue to work on the building project. We talked a little bit about the parking lot earlier. That's the first step in terms of what people will see as construction work or as this project moves forward. I didn't get a specific deadline on when that's going to happen for the construction of that, but movement is being made in terms of moving the tower and the equipment on the tower. I believe there's some work done yet, or they're going to be done in July to move equipment over. Much of what is on it now and what is underneath the historic and the basement of the historic building will move to the law enforcement or the 1990s building on the roof and throughout that facility. And so that's a good move with making sure we have an update for that building, or for that equipment. Sorry, I was distracted by Steve. So that's moving forward. We did call a building committee meeting for, I believe, next week to talk about the latest work that was being done to go into what will be another estimate that we're going to have Integrity do to help with that next phase, to ensure we're on budget, to make sure we're moving forward. When that work comes forward, I will call everybody together to give you an update and make sure that we're all on the same page regarding that work. But continue to interact with the folks working on the project for us to get everything moving and on track. The event tomorrow, I think some are participating, some aren't able to, but I have schedules out. I sent an email out. I will look to some of you to be participating in the leadership reaction course for leadership development.
Which way is that development environmental classroom?
We'll meet at 9 at the environmental classroom. It's in that main headquarters building and behind it,
We'll
right?
get you there.
Behind
We'll get you there, that's not a problem.
the TAC.
Yeah.
Tack.
So you kind of go in behind where,
I know I gotta wear my helmet if I bring my motorcycle.
Is that where the gym is
Yeah,
like?
have a
in the-
reflector too.
One of the places, yeah.
That's the building where the gym is that we're
Yes.
meeting?
Where the big flag
Behind
is,
that,
the big
yes.
flag over there.
Behind
so
it.
when you come for that water
That was it.
festival,
Well,
that,
they'll know anyway.
But in that building, but on the backside?
yes.
Back
on
side
that
of the
side.
building.
And then we'll meet there for a briefing and everybody will learn a little bit about Camp Ripley and the resource that we have within the county, and then we'll move uprange to the actual
I'm
leadership.
supposed to ask if we could take helicopter the
Black
Blackhawk
Hawk?
simulator.
Might be able to.
That may be one of the Black Hawk ride.
Well, it's not on my agenda. I'm not authorized
They
and don't
said
have
after
clearance
the-
for that,
But I
but
know Mike, he can probably put.
I'll
it
get
to
you
work.
Want to fly a Chinook or a Black Rock?
Right.
oh dear.
Not a problem.
Maybe you need more than just
How
a
did
closed
you-
toe shoes. But anyway, thank you, for your participation in advance for that. Anybody else waiting on something from me? I did get, the information, we do have our complete files submitted to court for the Bureau of Indian Affairs appeal. So that came through. If anybody wants to see that and read that, you're welcome to those documents, but it's what our attorney put together and submitted. Their review or their documentation, maybe is a better word, is due later this month and hoping for a decision in September sometime. So holding pattern for now with that.
I haven't talked to very many people about that, or not very many people have talked to me, but extremely recently, I was spoke to about that we best be doing what we're doing. So that was a positive for a change.
We're learning a lot with the process. Tomorrow night, as a reminder, it's Tuesday. Tomorrow night, as a reminder, we have the, public hearing for the half-cent sales
Did we
tax.
move that here, or is that downstairs?
It is in this, should be,
Here.
7 o'clock.
yep. So we have a
7 o'clock here.
busy week with that, but
Okay.
Anybody get any information, calls on that at all? I know I didn't receive a call at all.
I haven't received
Yeah,
any
article
feedback
in
on
the
it.
paper, I had a few people comment this weekend.
I did have a couple people ask about it, but we're very in favor of it, you know, but just asked.
That is
Okay.
it, I believe.
All right, we'll go to committee reports and upcoming schedules. What are we looking at here for dates?
17.
17th through the 29th?
16th through the 29th, correct.
Okay, who would like to go first? Commissioner Johnson?
Sure.
Okay.
On the 18th, we've got a planning meeting right here at 8:30. And on the 18th at 12:15, Commissioner Wilson and I have community development at 12:15, same day.
Contact me about,
That's all I have that week.
this is the city limits.
Then on the
I thought I called
25th,
in your district.
we have board.
They want a white line.
And on the 28th, I have Region 5 at Staples at 11:30. That's all I have.
Jeffrey's
You have the MCEA board meeting, do you want that?
Oh,
to
yeah,
come out?
that,
Do you
okay,
want it
that's on
there?
there. That can be on there. Yeah.
You're right.
That's at what, is that 10:30?
Yep, it says 10:30.
10:30.
Okay, Commissioner Jelinski.
On the 17th at 9 o'clock in the morning, I was asked to be part of a memorandum of understanding work group with Next Gen 911 in central Minnesota, which is another armor tie-in, if you will. It's gonna be at 9 o'clock in the morning in Alexandria at their Public Works Building. And at 6:30 that evening, I was asked to be at the Central Minnesota EMS Advisory Committee meeting. That's gonna be at the Service Center in Waite Park, Stearns County Service Center. I will not be attending this Holtz, area, it's some field days.
Yep, from the
That starts at
university.
10:30 in the morning and goes until 12:30. That's at the Holtz Dairy Farm.
That's over by
That's,
Randall's.
that's over by
Yep.
Janet Sanderson's.
At 5 o'clock that same evening on the 19th, I've got a Hands of Hope meeting in Meeting Room 3 here at the Government Center.
What time, John?
The Hands of Hope meeting, that's at 5 o'clock in the evening. On the 20th, the Armor O&O meeting scheduled has been canceled.
I saw that.
Okay. At 7:30 that evening, there's an Egg Society meeting at the fairgrounds. I will not be able to attend that, I will be out of town. 23rd, and then we go to the 29th, right? The 24th, there's been a change in dates. At 9 o'clock in the morning, I'll be attending an Armor Leadership meeting. That's one that meets quarterly, I believe, and that's at the DOT building in St. Cloud. The Planning Commission for the 24th has been canceled. The 25th, did you say county board meeting?
Yep.
Okay. The 26th, I've got an Armor Executive Committee meeting and an Emergency Services Board. That's at St. Cloud City Hall, starting at 11 o'clock. The Executive Committee and 1 o'clock with the Emergency Services Board. That's it. Thank you.
Commissioner Wincher.
Library on the 18th at 5 o'clock. Tuesday, I'll be in Wade Park at a buffer meeting. I think that, the time I think is 9:30, and I think it's at the Wade Park City Hall.
Thursday, the 20th?
Yep. TCC, 5 PM. Here in St. Cloud, and Soil and Water on the 27th, Thursday, at 9 o'clock. And then otherwise you got me caught up.
Commissioner Lemire.
Right, you got everything except HRA, 7:30 on the 25th AM.
Okay, and mine, I think we got the building project on the 18th. I don't know if that was discussed. Holtz Farm Airport Commission at noon on the 20th. And that's all I've got extra.
The building committee is just the committee, not the whole group. We'll meet with the whole group once that estimate comes in.
Oh, okay, okay. That's all I got. Does anybody have anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We got a motion and a second, and all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Here, I got something for you.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you.
I had 3.